Tainted Lazarus. The B-side character of Lazarus, character added in The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. His main gimmick was that he can revive, and upon doing so, he would gain a hefty damage multiplier and a wealth of other stats. Recently, he was reworked so that he revives once each floor, making an interesting playstyle where you try to kill yourself at least once per floor to get a 0.5 damage up. Now, in Repentance, Tainted Lazarus was added, and in this character, he can flip with the use of his pocket active item, Flip. Now, doing so causes him to switch forms into Dead Lazarus, and as you can see behind Cupid's arrow, you can see Suplex, which upon using Flip will change it to Suplex, and then Alive Lazarus can gather. So, as you can see on the right, he has Jacob and Esau's mechanic, where he has two separate items. This is terrible. It basically makes it so each character only gets about 0.7 times the amount of items they would normally get each run. They don't get 0.5 because, obviously, you get 2 items per item room, but that's about it besides double and angel deals and item shop rooms. You don't get an extra one from boss rooms. Now, on the surface, this seems like a fine character. Dead Esau has 1.5 damage multiplier and a slight nerf to his tears and speed stat, and a major nerf to his luck stat. However, with Alive Lazarus, he has absolutely god-awful range. It only goes about that far. Doesn't even cover half the room. Now, before I start ripping into this character, what are its pros and cons? Pros, you get like 2 items per item room among other rooms. Cons, you get 0.7 times the items. You have terrible range. And that's about it. So the problem arises whenever you're playing the game, and obviously the game is balanced around you getting, the normal amount of items. However, you don't get that as Esau. This is not Esau. Jacob. So, because of that, you are forced to make do with what you have. And you can try to do what you do with Jacob and Esau, which some people do, which is to give one character a bunch of defensive items and the other offensive items. This does not work with Lazarus as much as it does with Esau, because 2 different characters, they can't fight at the same time. So, out of the blue, there isn't any, major pros, because the one pro that I did mention, the 2 items from item rooms, it does not take into effect, really, because we have separate items, right? So, really, Lazarus has no pros, only cons. Now, you may say that's what it is with Tainted Loss. However, Loss is implemented as a challenge character. It's supposed to be a challenge. Same with Blue Baby. And I want to say another character, but I forget. So, Lazarus just does not have a pro. And this is not meant to be a challenge character. So, obviously, problems arise, which makes this character extremely unfun to play. And I came to this realization whilst I was doing his completion marks. I only have Pin and Kane left, actually. And so I realized this character is very terribly designed. And so it's just not fun to play at him at all. And I feel like this reflects with most people in the Isaac community thoughts, as not many people like to play as this character. Now, his birthright is, honestly, I feel like it should be an innate feature of this character. Let me activate debug mode and I'll be back in a bit. So, as you can see, I've given myself birthright. Now, also as you can see, I have the phantom of the alive, not Jacob, of the alive Lazarus, which deals 25% of the damage you normally would. Plus, if you have any familiars or other things that have like such effects like that, I believe that you'll get them free of charge with no downside. They'll just be like phantom stuff. This can apply to even Star of Bethlehem, which is an extremely good item. So you can obviously get that massive tears and damage buff with the homing on each characters, which is really good. Especially if you have a build that would heavily profit off of it, but it just doesn't have it on the item. And Birthright will fix that. Now, on Completing Room, it switches, and you actually switch spots. So, if I switch right here, I would go to where the Phantom is. And this is probably the coolest Birthright in this game. Maybe besides, like, also, Satanic Bible. So sad. Besides maybe, Judas, normal Judas. And it's just like the best thing about this character, which is the Birthright. Which, you don't always get 100% of the time. So it's basically on like almost all of my winning runs, I had Birthright. Because his character just does not have anything going for him. Besides, dead, Lazarus's 1.5 damage buff. But that's really about it. That's all he has, and he only gets that half of the time. Meanwhile, with regular Lazarus, you just get a 0.5 damage buff every single floor. And which is really nice. It's obviously like a really good thing, however, it makes you play riskier, which basically makes you have less health. So you have to think, okay, do I want to sacrifice my HP for the damage buff? And sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you want to keep that HP that you got. You don't do that with Tainted Lazarus. With all of the other tainted versions, they iterate upon the other characters. Obviously with Isaac, Tainted Isaac, he has an innate reroll mechanic. But he only has 8 active slots that he can use. Passive slots, I mean. As you can see, this is also just a random room. What? Okay. Like, as you can see, this is cycling between 2 items. So I can choose pick one or the other up, and whenever I reach that cap of 8, I have to put one down and to grab another one. Magdalene. It's actually a reverse roll of her mechanic in the normal version of her. You still start with the Young Heart, and she is just a tank. As you probably know, the original 4 characters are just supposed to be D&D rolls. So upon killing someone, you get a heart, and you can use that to just do this. So she has innate contact damage, which is a pretty cool idea if I do say so myself. Cain. I'm not gonna talk about this guy. I honestly do not like this character as well. Judas. This plays off of his role as a mage, which allows him to do this, use Dark Arts, which will basically go through all characters, and it'll give him a good damage buff. Pretty good character. Only downside is that he's a soul hard character. You have Eve. Also uses the whole stay at low health thing, which makes you have clots. Azazel, he has his innate brimstone, with a full brimstone, thin one, and a sneeze that will make brimstone more powerful. But Lazarus doesn't have anything at all. It's a character that's not fun to play. The whole idea that he has is just poorly implemented, and it just isn't fun to play at all. So, my advice that I would give to Edmund, if he ever watches this video, probably not, but if he ever somehow gets word of this, I would say to give him like a half ability of his birthright. So I would say give him the Phantom, make it do like I don't know, 15%. Buff his birthright a bit, maybe give him like 30%, and give him the ability to use his familiars. And then if you do that, I think you'd have a pretty good character, a mediocre character, pretty good character. Since he has an obvious pro and an obvious con, which is like Eden, Lost, uh, uh, Lilith, Greed, every one of them. So, just I would actually Lilith doesn't even have a con, right? Does she? Because I remember her being like a really good character. No, no, she doesn't. So yeah, just buff Laz and the newest patch. I know in the next one you're gonna be like, buffing a lot of quality 0 items. It would do some good to the character.